preview, looking ahead to this weekend of UFC Fight Night, Rodriguez versus Lemos. So, this Saturday, November 5th, at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, a high-profile women's strawweight fight. Marina Rodriguez is taking on Amanda Lemos. It's going to be fireworks, man. It's going to be a great stand-up fight at women's strawweight. Before that, and before we get to, I believe we're doing all 5 of the main card fights. Any fights or fighters that you guys want to spotlight for our listeners and viewers to check out this weekend?
Yeah, Omar, you want to go first?
I mean, honestly, man, the only one I really have is Miranda Maverick. I still have high hopes for Miranda Maverick. I think she has ability. I think she can work her way up to being really, really good. We just need to see her actually pull it off. So I'm hoping for a good win from her. The odds right now for that fight, at least on the UFC website, are fucking crazy.
Yeah, super wide. Super wide.
She's
before in Invicta, and Maverick steamrolled her as well. So
I don't know if you can pull up where you get your odds from, Mark, but on the UFC's website, they have her at a -600.
Wow.
And Shayna Young is at a +450, which is...
I believe that's what I saw her at as well, right around there. Let me see. Maverick, -600. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'll just grab one of them.
Yeah, sure.
Which is Jake Hadley versus Carlos Candelario. Jake Hadley is a guy who, this is going to be his second UFC fight. He debuted with a lot of hype behind him. He was a fighter that people were pretty excited about, and he kind of got shut down in his debut by Alan Nascimento, which wasn't so expected. So, who knows how much of it was the debut getting to him or whatnot, but he's definitely a guy who came into the UFC with some buzz. He gets Carlos Candelario here, who you would think is a guy he should beat. I think Hadley's like a 2-1 favorite last I looked. So I'll be paying attention to him and seeing if he can kind of show why he came in with the hype that he did.
Some of the odds here are super interesting, to be honest, because some of them are all in the 200s, plus or minus. So Jake Hadley, they have him at a -255, and they have Candelario at a +215.
Yeah, So I said 2-1, 2.5 to 1. I was close.
Super interesting.
Yeah, man. All right, let's get into this. The main card of UFC Fight Night Rodriguez versus Lemos is opening up with an exciting lightweight bout between Grant Dawson and Mark Madsen. So we have Dawson, KGD, the 28-year-old out of Nebraska. He is 18-1 as a professional with 1 draw. 12 submission victories, so he is a big submission threat. He's coming off of a victory against Jared Gordon, my buddy Jared Gordon, who he defeated by submission via a rear naked choke this past April. He's on quite a streak as well, is Grant Dawson. Mark Madsen, of course, is on quite the streak as well, that being his entire pro career. He is 12-0 as a pro, is the 38-year-old out of Denmark. Most recently, back in April of this year, he defeated Vince from Hell Pichel by UD. Mark, give it to us. What is your assessment and pick of this very exciting lightweight bout between Madsen and Dawson?
Yeah, so the odds here are actually wider than I expected. I thought this would be fairly tight, and Grant Dawson is actually -225. Mark Madsen is +180 as the dog. This is a great matchup. I believe, let me just check this before I say it. Yeah, I do have them literally ranked 28 and 29 in my rankings, so they're right next to each other. But yeah, now that Mark Madsen has hit this level, I will continually pick against him until I am right. I've said it before on this show. I just, I saw it when it was against the lower level guys. I don't see it now. I thought Vince Pichel would beat him. He kind of had a chance. A couple things went wrong at a couple points, and he got away from him. So I was wrong there, but I'm going to pick against Madsen again. Dawson is not quite as dynamic as I want a guy to be to definitely beat Mark Madsen. Like, I wish his striking was a little bit more dangerous just because Madsen is a bit weaker in that area, but I'm still going to roll with Dawson. Of course, Madsen's a super high-level wrestler, but Grant Dawson is a hell of a grappler. He's really tricky. He will get his hooks in you from any and all angles. He's real tough to control, and I think he could give Mark Madsen problems. He has sometimes had cardio issues, but I wouldn't exactly call Mark Madsen any cardio monster either, so I'm kind of less worried about the cardio issues of Dawson. And he did overcome them in his last fight against Jared Gordon, so that was good to see. So it could be close, but I'm going to roll with Grant Dawson, UD.
Omar, give it to us.
Yeah, I didn't care for that Vince Pichel fight personally. I thought Mark Madsen did. I don't rank Vince Pichel super high as far as what a win against him means. It's not really trying to shit on Vince Pichel. It's just there hasn't been a lot of accomplishment to take away from that kind of win in the first place. Vince Pichel is a tough guy for sure. But as far as technique and understanding what that means to fight people above him, not really much to take away from that fight for me. With that being said, I hated his striking in that fight. I absolutely loathed it. Every bit of it. His wrestling, I think, is his equalizer. I think it's what he goes to get any fight where he needs it to be, and he can control and kind of win from there, burn out the clock, and et cetera, et cetera. But I absolutely hate his striking. I don't know if he's made any changes to then. I pray that he has, but it's one of those things where in my head I don't feel like he should be winning some of the fights that he's winning, but that wrestling is just it's next level shit.
That's why I never want to pick him.
And it's never something that seemingly people can avoid or take advantage of as far as his wrestling is concerned. With that being said, I totally could see Marco Madsen winning this fight, completely bloodied, beaten to hell, but yet having controlled the guy for 3 rounds. I totally could see that being a thing. I'm going to go with Grant Dawson because I think Grant Dawson has the submission acumen to find something from down there because he's not a conventional type of submission artist. He's not going to be looking for the things that I feel like the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys tend to look for. I think he's a little bit more opportunistic and he'll look for a lot more unorthodox openings from the ground, especially with a guy as strong as Mark Madsen. So I'm going to go with Grant Dawson. I'm hoping he gets a submission round 3. But again, if you see Mark Madsen smiling up or standing up, smiling and blood covered on his face from all the cuts he has from getting fucked up, I also not going to be surprised.
I will go the opposite way as you guys. I pretty much I couldn't say it better than the way you said it, Omar. I can see I'm seeing Mark Madsen getting his hand raised, kind of bloodied and beat up, but having used his wrestling effectively enough over the course of 15 minutes. And I think that he, in being a silver medalist in the Olympics as a wrestler, his wrestling is going to be able to avoid getting submitted by Grant Dawson, who I love. And I love his submission game. You know, a guy who 2/3 of his victories have come by way of submission. That being said, for this fight, I'm going to go with the Olympian. I'm going to say he's going to stay away from the submission, and he's going to pretty much limp to a unanimous decision victory. And he's probably, I'll say this too, he might be the one who looks worse when his hand is raised by the referee.
Oh, of that I have no doubt.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we're
no
leaving
doubt.
this one talking about how fluid Grant Dawson looked. That's what I need on the ground.
Yes.
Just moving in ways that Madsen is not used to, and threatening in ways that Madsen is not used to.
Mark, did you say Dawson UD or Dawson finish?
Yeah, I said Dawson UD.
So did you, Omar, right?
No, I don't think Dawson can beat him by points. That's the one thing I don't think he
You
can
said
do.
sub.
Submission round 3.
Okay, I'm writing it down this time. I always want to write it down. I always forget. Okay.
We used to play this game for points back in the
I
day.
know, dude. Sometimes I
Yeah,
think
we
about that before we started a show. For those who don't know,
2023,
nobody
we
knows.
should do it for points.
We should bring it back.
Yeah.
We should bring it back and like publish it or something like that. So, you guys, our audience, you guys don't know. Before we started the show, because we've been the three of us have been talking MMA since I don't even know how long, like
2015 maybe.
Maybe sooner?
Maybe. I know I got to back to New York in 2013, and that's when I started working at Apple when we met. So maybe like 2014?
Maybe 14 or 15, somewhere in there.
That sounds right to me. Something in there, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've gone through a few
Almost
different
10
phases.
years.
And one of our phases was I would make an Apple numbers spreadsheet and share it with the two of them, and for every event, and we would all pick we would all pick up the fights, and we had a scoring system, and it was super fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I loved it. But yet somewhere somebody's going, fucking nerds.
I still track all my picks right now.
Do you really? Wow.
I have my record for main card and for full card.
Wow.
Year by year in an Excel document.
Oh, my God.
What's your record? Do you know your record?
For this, I just referenced it in a comment, actually. One of these dudes who was fucking calling me a clown in the comments who said my pseudo-analysis. So I said my pseudo-analysis has me picking has me picking fights at a 2/3 clip, so I'll take it.
Wow. Good for you.
Yeah, I think. Fuck, where is this fucking document? Here we go. This year. Oh, I have to do math. I didn't update it after the last fight. I'm on a
Fucking
different computer,
math.
so it's not, we can't do this right now. We're holding up the show. But it's like before the last fight, I think I was at a 66%
Wow.
clip
Good for
of
you. That's cool.
of overall. I think that was not main card. I think main card was slightly below that, like 63 or something.
Mark really is like Matthew McConaughey in that goddamn betting movie.
What movie?
Two for the Money, it's called. If you haven't seen it,
seen it.
watch that movie, and you tell me if that shit is not Mark in a nutshell.
Mark is.
This is
big
the
into
YouTube
tracking.
section, the timestamp section, that is going to be called Mark Madsen versus Grant Dawson, and people are going to be like, what the fuck are they talking about right now?
All right. New section. Moving on. A flyweight bout between Tagir Ulanbekov versus Nate Maness. So Ulanbekov, the 31-year-old out of Dagestan, Russia. He is 13-2 as a pro. 1 knockout, 6 subs, 6 decisions. He has never been finished. His 2 losses have come by way of decision. And one of the 2 losses is his most recent fight. He's coming off of a loss at the hands of Tim Elliott back in March of this year at UFC 272. Standing across from him in the octagon this Saturday night will be Nate Maness, Nate Mayhem Maness, the 31-year-old also fighting out of Kentucky. Maness is 14-2 as a pro, 5 knockouts, 3 subs, 6 decisions, and he is also coming off of a loss at the hands of Omar Nurmagomedov back in June of this past summer. So both of these flyweights are looking to get back into the win column. Omar, let me throw it over to you this time first. Give us your assessment and ultimately your pick of Ulanbekov versus Maness.
So I'm a fan of Maness. I actually find his fight style to be pretty entertaining. I think his loss against Umar Nurmagomedov is one of those that's going to happen kind of losses. Umar is on a tear right now. Umar is right now the next hot thing. He's so hot right now. Like, you know what I mean? The next Zoolander thing right now. So I don't really give him too much shit for that loss. I think Maness has what it takes to beat Ulanbekov. I think Ulanbekov is good, but I don't think he's particularly next level in my opinion. And I think there are opportunities for Maness to win that fight. So I'm going to go with Maness by unanimous decision.
Mark?
So I'm in the same boat. I don't know if I'm going to regret this because Ulanbekov is minus 220 as the favorite. Nate Maness is plus 175 underdog. But I'm intrigued by this flyweight drop for Nate Maness. He looked good up at bantamweight. He showed some signs. He's a scrapper. As you guys said, yes, Umar ran him over, but it's Umar. Things like that are going to happen. The skills are still there. He's 3 inches taller than Tagir. He's got a 2-inch reach advantage. And Ulanbekov is good. He's talented. He's just never wowed me. I don't know that he blends his game so well moment to moment. I feel like he lets stretches of the fight get away from him. he wasn't a fight that some people scored from against Tim Elliott. So if you're beating Tim Elliott, I guess you are pretty good. But I don't know. I think I'm going to go Maness here. I'm sure there's a world where Ulanbekov is able to land a bunch of takedowns and win it off control. But assuming the weight cut goes okay for Nate Maness, obviously throw the pick out the window if he looks like shit on the scale cutting down to 125. But assuming the weight cut goes okay, I think he can stuff enough takedowns and hurt Tagir on the feet a bit and take a decision. So I'll go Nate.
Yeah, he is going to tower over Ulanbekov at 5'10". So Ulanbekov is listed at 5'6".
Oh, I saw 5'7". That's even.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting. I'm looking at Sure Dog.
Yeah. Okay.
I just want to note, Mark, that this is the second week in a row that you have said of a Dagestani fighter that he is very good, but he just doesn't do it for you.
He doesn't. But that's different context. I said that Islam doesn't necessarily entertain me. Not that I didn't think he was good. That's not get fucking silly. Tagir, I don't think is all that great.
I
Really?
compared Islam to Floyd Mayweather in the sense that I don't find Floyd Mayweather particularly entertaining. But am I really going to fucking sit up here and say he's not one of the greatest boxers and not the greatest defensive boxer in the entire world? No, because it's fucking dumb.
That's the exact Islam take that I was trying to give, but how dare I?
Yeah, I'm sorry I brought it up because we were just inviting more comments defending. Right. It's okay. It's all good. Bring them on. Okay, let's move on. Unless, did I miss somebody?
No, I think
Myself.
Oh.
I'm going to go with Ulanbekov. I think these guys are pretty evenly matched. I mean, they're the same age, very similar records. But I'm just going to go with the Dagestani fighter. I like his skill set, and I see him rolling to a decision victory over Maness. And I anticipate him not looking great cutting to 125, so we'll see. We'll see him on scale.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Up to the heavyweights, man. This big-time main card heavyweight bout between Chase Sherman and Josh Parisian. So Sherman, the 32-year-old out of Mississippi, he is 16-10 as a pro. He's 6'4", weighs in usually around in the 250 range. Of his 16 victories, 15 have come by way of knockout or TKO. Of his 10 defeats, he has been knocked out 4 times and subbed twice. He is coming off of a win over Jared Vandera back in July. Josh Parisian, the 33-year-old out of Brighton, Michigan, my neck of the woods. He is a literal giant, tipping the scales at 265. He probably has to cut a little bit of weight to make the heavyweight limit. He's also 6'4". Parisian 15-5 as a pro with 11 knockouts on his record and 2 subs. He is coming off of a win as well over the Frenchman Alain Badeau back in June of this year. Mark, let me throw it over to you this time. Give us your take on this hot heavyweight contest between Sherman and Parisian.
Yeah, any wrestling fans listening will get this reference, but the UFC cannot resist having 2 big meaty men slapping meat on a main card. They don't care how low level the fight is; it's going on the fucking main card. Sherman's the favorite here. He's -125. Parisian is +105. Both these guys have so many holes. If I'm being honest, I think this is just one of those who falls down first fights, and I think I trust Sherman more to find the kill shot by 51% to 49%. I'm not even going to bother analyzing this fight so much more than that. I could see it looking fairly similar to Sherman's last fight against Jared Vandera, where he was kind of behind, lands a couple big ones, fight shifts. So I'll say maybe Parisian's landing more early, and then Sherman lands something big late, and I'll say he gets out of there with a round 3 TKO. But it's a coin toss of all coin tosses. I would not bet it.
Okay. Omar.
I can't tell you how much I don't care about this fight.
Omar took what I said and fucking cranked it up another notch.
I can't express to you how much I could give a shit. I think my main reason why this fight doesn't do it for me is because both of these men fight super sloppy. I don't care to watch two men ragdoll each other, essentially trying to strike at each other. They're both not technically sound as far as I'm concerned. I haven't really seen much from Josh Parisian. I've seen obviously more fights with Chase Sherman in them, but even the performances Sherman has had has been, they're tough. They're both tough guys for definitely, but they're just not great to watch. Like, I don't take anything away from these fights. They're sloppy bangers. It is what it is. It's not my cup of tea. There's tons of people in the audience that I'm sure will, woo, they'll love it, but it's just not my cup of tea, man. I guess if I have to pick one, I'll go with Chase Sherman by third round knockout.
Yeah, I mean, for what it is, it's really just like it's in a spot on the card that plummets its value as a fight. Like, if this was on the undercard, I'd be like, fun. These two moderately like two moderately athletic giants are gonna scrap. Being like in the fight right before the co-main, you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
That being said, looking at this fight in and of itself, I'm going to go with Josh Parisian just because it's a coin flip. I mean, Chase Sherman on paper, he loses a lot. I mean, before his last fight against Vandera, he dropped 4 in a row. I mean, on paper, Chase Sherman looks like a heavyweight who's like, he's got good size, he seems athletic, but he just loses. And I'm going to go with the size and the power of the bigger man, slightly bigger man, Josh Parisian, and I don't know. That's it. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Co-main event time. A welterweight bout of real consequence.
Back in the saddle.
Yeah, we're back in the saddle. Between Neil Magny and Daniel Rodriguez. Here we go. Neil Magny, the Haitian sensation. I always forget that Neil Magny is a New York guy. He's fighting out of Brooklyn, New York. The 35-year-old out of Brooklyn. He is 26-9 as a pro. Let's go. 6'3". Nice height as a welterweight. Of his 26 victories, 7 have come by knockout, 3 submissions to add to that. He is coming off of a loss against the rising Shavkat Rakhmonov by submission back in June. And then we look at Daniel D-Rod Rodriguez, the 35-year-old fighting out of California. He is 17-2 as a professional with 8 knockouts and 4 subs on his record. He's coming into this weekend riding a 4-fight win streak. Most recently, this past September, very recent, he earned that split decision victory over Li Jingliang. So, Omar, let me toss it over to you first this time. Give us your take and your assessment and ultimately your pick of this big-time welterweight bout.
So, I'm a big fan of both. We've talked about Neil Magny in the past sort of being, the prime gatekeeper, sort of the gatekeeper we all know and love and respect. Losing to Shavkat is probably another one of those guys where that's going to happen. Rakhmonov has basically murdered every single person that he's come into contact with in the UFC. If you look at his record, even before the UFC, he's murdered people that are currently in the UFC as well. So I'm not going to give Neil Magny shit for losing to a guy who seemingly is probably going to murder everybody in that division or close to it. Daniel Rodriguez, on the other hand, is a good fighter. I've been a fan of his. You already know, though, #justice for my man Li Jingliang.
I knew it was coming.
You already
know.
Yep.
You already know. And so for that reason, I'm going with my man's Neil Magny by unanimous decision.
Okay. Mark, lay it on us.
Yeah, this is a tough one, and the betting odds indicate that. Neil Magny is -120. D-Rod is -105, so you're not even getting plus money on anybody here. As usual for Magny, big reach advantage, 6 inches, plus 2 inches of height. And against a boxer like D-Rod, that's going to be helpful because you know what D-Rod is looking to do. So at least Magny can try to keep that space with the reach. This is one of those fights where the momentum is going in opposite ways. D-Rod is on a hell of a run up right now. Magny is maybe showing some signs a little bit of aging and wear and tear. So it feels like I should be saying D-Rod, but I don't think I'm going to. Flip-flopped on this a little bit, but I just think the well-rounded game of Magny could be enough to sneak this out on the cards. He could certainly find himself in trouble at points. I'm sure there will be some times where D-Rod lands clean. He always does. He's always able to find some flush shot in there. But I just think the veteran IQ of Magny, the ability to wrestle, the length, just all of it, I think it can help him turn the tide if needed. I think that he has been in there enough and that he has a bit more tools than D-Rod does, and I would think he can bring those to bear and kind of turn the fight where he needs to if it's not going his way. So I'll say that Magny can do just enough to get 2 rounds on at least 2 of these cards. I think it's going to be close. Debating if I even want to say split. Yeah, I will say Neil Magny split decision.
You know what, Mark? That's probably the right pick, but I'm not going to make it with you this time because I'm a fan of Daniel Rodriguez. I really am. I've been impressed with him and his hands and his striking since he's been coming up, and I want him to win, and I'm going to go with him. I'm going to say that Daniel Rodriguez. I'm going to say that Daniel Rodriguez hurts Neil Magny. And I'm going to say that he gets him out of there in the second round.
That would be
That's how this fight goes. Neil Magny, he's only been finished with strikes twice. And he's been subbed 5 times. But I think I'm really hopeful. I really feel like this is one of those stupid-ass decisions or picks that I make. But I'm really hoping that this is a big breakthrough moment for Rodriguez here. And he's going to keep rolling. I mean, he's 17-2, man. He's good.
Yeah,
he's
I'll tell you this, man. If anybody wants to know what a proper jab looks like and a quote-unquote educated jab looks like, watch Neil Magny. That man has one of the best jabs I've ever seen. I love the way he uses it. He pops it out right back to his face. I keep showing this to Francesca because now that we're kind of doing these things together, there's like tendencies I'm trying to get her not to start. And one of them is the jab, and then it goes down. And then you kind of circle your ass back up. It's like it's jab and it comes back. You know what I mean? It comes right back to your face. And it's the same with the cross and all that other stuff.
Yep.
But Neil Magny has one of the best and tightest jabs in the UFC. And with his length, I mean, it's beautiful to watch.
Yeah, man. Hey, sometimes I make smart decisions with my picks, and sometimes I make emotional decisions. And, on that note, real quick, going back to the whole comment section thing, sometimes... Yeah, I'm still
I was waiting. I was waiting for you to say something about it. Like, wait a minute, somebody called me something, motherfuckers.
Folks, just so everybody knows, the three of us, we are not journalists, and we are not bound by any standard of objectivity. We do not have to be objective or impartial or any of that. Okay, that's it. So sometimes we are always like honest and open over like who we love and who we root for. So that's it. Okay.
Yeah, I 100% agree. The thing you got to keep in mind is we tell you when we're going to be biased because we know we're fucking fans. I've been watching UFC since 2009, which now seems like a stupid ass amount of time. I don't know how long you guys have probably been watching it, maybe a little bit longer or just as long as I have. But we're fans first and foremost. This is not. Ain't none of us getting paid here. We are paying to do this.
That's right.
There are bills involved in putting this shit up the way that we put it up.
Yeah.
So we love doing this. We love fights. We love all of this stuff. So we do it out of sheer entertainment of us. We are just asking for you guys to join the ride. And if you don't want to, get the fuck off.
And if you don't know, I mean, first of all, I am a professional ring announcer in combat sports, and I have been paid good money to ring announce. I'm a ring announcer for Anthony Pettis Fighting Championship. I've been an announcer for XFC. For a few others, I've been on Fox Sports. So, like, fucking get at me. That being said, I got into ring announcing because I'm a huge MMA fan. Mark, if he wanted to, he could be an amazing elite journalist if he really wanted to. And he also could be probably the best matchmaker in UFC history. Omar, if he really wanted to, he could fight. And he could be an amazing referee. So that's all I'll say about that. Okay, let's move on. Main event time. Here we go. Women's strawweight bout between Marina Rodriguez and Amanda Lemos. Here we go. Women's strawweight. What?
Another, we're cheering for you. That was a lovely sentiment, a lovely fuck you to all those people.
I wrote a comment that was pretty much exactly what you just said out loud. I don't know if you guys saw it.
Oh, I did not.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, we have Marina Rodriguez, the 35-year-old out of, I don't know how to say this, Bagué, or I don't know how to say this town, out of Rio Grande do Sul in Brazil. She's riding a 4-fight win streak. She is 16-1 overall as a pro with 2 draws. Of her 16 wins, 6 have come by way of knockout or TKO, and add 1 submission to that. Most recently, she got the split decision victory over Xiaonan Yan. And then on the other side, we have Amanda Lemos, also out of Brazil, of course, also 35. She is 12-2 with 1 draw as a pro, 7 knockouts, 3 subs added to that. She's only been knocked out once. She's only been submitted once. Just hopping back over to the other side, Rodriguez has never been knocked out, has never been submitted. That's important to note. Lemos herself, she is also coming off of a win against Michelle Waterson back in July of this year, which was getting back in the win column after a loss against Jessica Andrade. Before that, she had a 5-fight win streak. I love this fight right now, guys. This is great matchmaking. Both of these ladies have been on a tear. Same age, similar records. Mark, let me throw it over to you first this time. Give us your assessment of this matchup between Rodriguez and Lemos, and then your pick.
Yeah, this is a quality match for sure. Marina is the favorite. She's minus 220. Amanda Lemos is plus 175. I do believe that Marina deserved a bigger fight than this. Unfortunately, the way it kind of shook out with who was available. Instead, she has to fight down against an absolute killer in Amanda Lemos. So it's definitely a big risk for Marina when she has kind of hit an elite point in this division. So props to her for taking it. And honestly, it's a really interesting fight because she's going to have to lean on her volume, as she always does, because any one shot from Lemos could be a game changer. Even if it's not a fight that necessarily drops her, just they're big shots in the judges' eyes. So Marina's going to have that volume going. Additionally, she is so good in close with her elbows and her knees and those type of weapons. But she's going to have to really walk a dangerous line with the range due to the power that's going to be coming back at her from Lemos. Does she really want to get in that tight to use those knees and elbows like she does? Plus, Amanda could absolutely look to grapple her, as that's been shown a few times as a weak spot for Marina. So does she want to get close enough for that to be an option for Lemos? So it's going to be interesting what range Marina tries to play this fight at. She may just try to stay out throughout and kind of pick apart Lemos and keep a pace and see if Lemos can get tired. And that's what Lemos is going to have to show, is that she can keep that pace for 25 minutes because she has not done that thus far. She has shown signs of tiring in third rounds of fights, let alone fourth and fifths, as we could see here. So that's what she's going to have to prove. But for me, there's no way I'm not picking Marina Rodriguez right now. I love the way she looks lately. I really believe in her whole game. Lemos is a killer. Like I said, I'm sure there'll be blitzes. I'm sure there'll be moments. But I trust Marina to survive them. She's hard to hurt. I trust her ability to mix it up, to strike responsibly, and to keep that pace. And I trust her cardio more as this thing gets into round 4 and 5. And if I'm being honest, I'm almost kind of locking up those 2 rounds in my head for Marina Rodriguez. Unless Lemos' cardio has changed drastically, I think the later rounds will be Marina's. And if that's the case, she really only would need one of the first 3 to get out of there with a W. So I will take Marina Rodriguez. I'll say a 48-47 UD. I could even see a finish late if Lemos is truly tiring and Marina is able to turn it up. But I'll stick with a UD win for Marina Rodriguez.
Very nice. Omar, it's your turn.
Yeah. So just so you know, Mike, it's Bagé. I actually looked it up.
Oh, very nice.
Bagé Rio Grande do Sul. But I also am really into Rodriguez's game, her whole complete game. I think she's a very, very technical fighter. I think she's one of the more technical fighters in that division, especially at the elite level. And I think she uses her range and her movement, which she's going to have to rely on, not just the volume, like Mark said, but the movement as well. She's going to have a lot of lateral movement and lateral movement to the proper side. Amanda Lemos is one of those girls, you move to the wrong side, you're going to run into a hook that she's throwing. So Rodriguez is going to have to do a lot of moving properly in that fight. She won't be able to just move backwards because Lemos will push the pace and she will come forward and eventually trap her against the cage if she allows her, if she does simply move back. So she's going to have to cut a lot of angles, and we should see a lot of that happening throughout the fight. I do think she's more technical than Lemos. I think Lemos is very, very dangerous. Lemos is basically like a grenade with the pin almost all the way out. And if you make one wrong move, that pin comes out and you're done. Rodriguez, I think, though, is a lot more consistent and I think a lot more reliable over 5 rounds. I also don't think that she puts herself in dangerous positions in most of her fights to be in a dangerous position against Amanda Lemos. Amanda Lemos will have to work hard, I think, to get Rodriguez into a dangerous position, and I don't see that happening. I just don't see that happening in that fight at all, frankly. Everybody has a chance to get caught for sure, but I think Rodriguez does a good job of making sure that doesn't happen to her, and it doesn't, and that's not an accident. So I'm going to go with Rodriguez by unanimous decision. I don't think that she finishes Lemos. If there's one thing that might be a counter on Rodriguez's game is that she doesn't necessarily push for finishes. She's definitely one person to allow the fight to come to her, does what she needs to do to win the fight and push the pressure as much as possible, but she never necessarily goes overboard or, again, puts herself in a position where she might get hurt herself, which would be blitzing somebody, potentially hurt. So I don't see her finishing, but I do see her winning a pretty handy decision.
Nice. I think we are unanimous. I'm a big Marina Rodriguez fan. I'm a big fan of her striking prowess, and I think she's going to put it on Lemos. I think she's going to kind of pick her apart. So I see Marina Rodriguez cruising to a unanimous decision victory over Amanda Lemos this Saturday night. And there you have it, boys.